Good evening, everyone. I'm your host, comedian, magician, Danny Whitson. But it's all tricks aside, because tonight we're turning the paranormal into the normal. Join me as we explore the gray areas of reality. We're going to talk all things paranormal, UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, and aliens, and see how it's all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association, and we are live. So if you're an experiencer yourself, or you're just plain nosy, be sure to send me your question and subscribe to the podcast. Now, get ready, because it's going to get deep. No, really, we're going to go way out there, because this is Beyond the TinFoil Hat. Welcome to Beyond the TinFoil Hat, and I'm your host, comedian, magician, Danny Whitson. I hope my paranormal junkies have had a fantastic week, because we got a great show for you tonight. But first, I want to make some quick announcements. I'm excited to announce that we have a new Patreon account. For all the followers who would like to support the Patreon account, you get to meet or talk with Ryan Stacy one-on-one, and all proceeds go to Tessa, the podcast, and the work. So be sure to subscribe to the Patreon account, support us. We need your support. And in return, you get to talk with Ryan one-on-one with any of these special topics you would love to talk to him about. Also, there's 3 new articles in the works that you can check out on the website or even the Facebook page. It's the update on the Canada Sky story. And then also a survey, a Canadian UFO survey you can check out. And then more on the MUFON hack. So be sure to check out those 3 articles Ryan's been working on. I'm sure they're very, very interesting. Now, talk about interesting. Tonight's guest. Tonight's guest is an expert at aligning your life's past to the highest potentials. Her unique vibrational frequency and presence can fundamentally change your life. Let's get a big welcome tonight for Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. How you doing, Kimberly?
I'm really well, thank you.
All right, I tell you what, I said a little bit about you there in the intro, but if you don't mind, will you let the listeners and tonight, hear a little more about yourself?
Yeah, it's kind of a wandering story. Basically, born with high-level remote viewing and psychic abilities. Grew up in a religious family, shut them down, went away to school in Chicago for college, decided to kind of be a little bit more myself, became so much more myself, attracted the attention of the local police, who then asked me to work as a psychic medium in their it was in the 80s and 90s when they were just starting the occult crime units. I don't even know if they still have those anymore, but they were experimenting with them back then. Thought it was very, very glamorous at the ripe old age of 20 to be very underpaid and very traumatized. I don't think any pay is worth the trauma that you encounter, working on cases like that. Kind of came out of that, became a little bit normal, got married, had kids, couldn't stay out of the, am I freezing? I'm going to keep talking, hoping you can hear me. Couldn't stay out of the paranormal, started doing house clearings. I did my first exorcism old school. Now I don't do them old school because I know we're all possessed, which is a whole nother topic. Did a lot of exorcisms from the age of 20 on, worked with a lot of paranormal groups. I was at one time Shane Pittman's of the Holzer Files medium for his paranormal group before he was famous. Thanks, Shane, for not taking me with you, by the way. And I'm just kidding. But so I worked with a lot of, big name groups and big name people, but under the radar, because what you guys don't understand is if you've never been on a paranormal investigation, which I'm sure you have, but they're super, super boring. They're super tiring. Now, I'm not saying they're all boring, but you can go hours and hours and hours and hours.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
hours with nothing happening. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I actually make a joke about this in my show because
Yeah.
I'm a comedian,
I
and
love it.
I always say this. I say paranormal investigating. It's like, and I don't mean this. This is before I became a true believer. So guys, forgive me, but this joke, I still say it. I say it's like going fishing if fish weren't real, but I mean, you just, I know you paranormal folks aren't going to like that, but here's it. I do believe in ghosts now. I'm a believer. This is when I was more of a skeptic, but no, sometimes it's like that though. It is like going fishing. You just
No,
kind of sit
it
there.
is. That's a great comparison. And when I went fishing, and my ex-fiance, I mean, I would bring like a book and all sorts of things to entertain myself. And really, that's about the same thing on a paranormal
But when you
investigation.
catch one, when you catch that big one,
I agree. It's the
it's
it's
so
everything.
worth it. So, but
It
no, you're
is.
absolutely correct.
But
No,
the
the cool thing with you, Kimberly, though, I want to say, because boom, right out the bat, girl, you came out here and you gave us a lot of good stuff. Boom, your astral projection is what you were saying, right?
Yeah, I
You
was
said
going to say that's
exorcism.
what I did. Yeah.
You
Oh,
said,
yeah. Thanks
I
for
mean,
saying that. I wasn't with the groups, by the way. So I
well,
worked as a psychic medium. I went to, they would tell me where they were investigating. I would go there, walk around, tell them where to put their cameras, tell them. I remember I was taking a bath one night. I was on the phone with Shane, as a matter of fact. And he's like, "Are there any spirits where we are?" He was there, and I was in my bath. And I said, "Hold on a minute." I said, "There's a really tall man, and his name's Sam, and you're going to find him wandering around." And they did. And so it saves them a lot of time. They get names, they get descriptions, they get stories that they might not know, and they get where to set up their equipment. And they get better stuff. So that's the kind of stuff I did for them. And I did that. I still occasionally do that. I do get called in. I'm not going to be all like, the other psychics. I do get called in occasionally on crimes. My last crime was they didn't know where a woman was missing and a guy was missing in Ohio. They didn't know where they were. And I got a hold of her, and she told me she was dead. And she said, "Look in the water." And they hadn't been looking in the water. So they drove right to the nearest body of lake, and they found her and her boyfriend, who had driven the truck into the water. So I do occasionally help out with things. I also work on cold cases because the technology I have and my abilities are, we can tell when people are lying. We can run facts, off of the truth, because the truth is a frequency. And so I don't do a lot of that work. And I usually, honestly, you guys, that's low paid. If they're going to pay you, you're not going to get rich doing that. So don't let anyone fool you. So I usually do that for free as a service to people, who are paying and want to know what happened to their loved ones. So that's not something I advertise or charge for, but I do some of that still. But I became a naturopathic doctor. So of course I got big into herbalism, into supplements, into applied kinesiology, body work, energy healing, all of that. That led me to technology. And now I really, really have worked for the last 30 years, but really the last 10 years, really, really hardcore in frequency. Just, I had 2 apps at one time, frequency apps at one time. Another lie, you're not going to get rich doing apps either. Don't think that. The app movement has come and long gone. I thought I was going to get rich doing apps now, but
let me ask you this, Kimberly, because okay, this is a lot of times that I know this is where I have interest when I hear people with kind of like with your talents. When did you know? At what age? And when did? Because even at a young age, I'm sure if you did know something, you're like, "What the hell's going on? How do I use this?" So how old were you whenever you realized that you had this talent, so you were able to do these things?
Right. I hope you can still hear me, because
I can hear you now. We are getting a little bit of free screen, but we
yeah,
can
I
still
thought
hear
so.
you.
Okay, yeah. And when I come on these shows, or almost every show, all of a sudden the internet that was working perfectly, I start to get a lot of interference. Depending, sometimes people even come in EVPs while I'm talking. So we'll see. It could be an interesting night.
Oh, nice.
But when did I know? I mean, I didn't know. I mean, I was aware I had weird abilities when I was 2 and 3 years old, and even 4 and 5, more and more. But I didn't know that. Here's what people don't understand. I didn't know that everybody didn't have them. So I knew I had the abilities, but I thought everyone functioned. How would I know people didn't function like I did? So I thought everybody functioned like I did till my brother was born. And when he's able to talk, he's like, I don't see ghosts. I don't see monsters. I don't see portals opening. Like, yeah. So then I'm like, oh, okay. And then you go to school and you learn to be quiet, you know?
So when did you start sharing this? When did you start, when did you get brave enough to say, hey, I kind of see things other people don't see. So when
Yeah,
did
I
you get
did
to
it.
go?
I mean, I shut it down from like, school age, 6, 7 to 18. I didn't share it. I only shared it when I left home, went to a different city, and I'm like, maybe I could market this a little, for popularity. And I did. People want to know if their boyfriend's going to ask them to marry them. People want to know if they're going to pass a test or get a job or, and I was really, really accurate. And so that's when I'm like, oh, there's a cool side to this,
Now, like I've always, because I think this is actually, I just heard this today. So it's I can't quote the exact person who said this, but he talked about like people who have had some type of trauma or something that's happened that also sometimes can trigger psychic abilities. So would you agree with that? Is not saying, not trying to go too deep in the area of that, but it's almost like people with near death experiences sometimes will have these abilities to do what you do.
I have a totally different theory though of why. So you guys are like looking at the trauma, which I would say is the effect. I believe the cause is a walk in, walk out.
Okay. That's interesting.
And I'm not saying 100% of the time because nothing's 100% of the time. But one thing I found, in the last 10 years researching in people's fields and running thousands of different people every year is what I even used to think about reality and consider myself an expert about. I have had to change my opinion based on evidence, based on how many people I see that show evidence of a walk in, walk out. Not only that, but also what we teach and think and have read about possession, I now believe is 95%. I hate to use the word wrong because it's so polarized, but let's say not true, which is the same thing. I don't think we understand. And even every day that I think I understand this reality, I see new evidence to show me I still have new things to learn about this reality. So we're always learning, we're always growing. But I think we all need to let completely go of some of the old paradigms because I think they are chaining us down as a collective and holding us back. If you don't understand where you are and who you are, and then you don't understand how we fit, how we got here, what this is, how we fit into all time, all space, how do we get what we want as a society or as an individual or as a family or, as anything? We don't. We're just all wandering around and around in these same really small circles, using as evidence the same text by the same people quoting the same names, and the names that you guys all quote, I'm not saying you guys generically, Tesla. If I hear Tesla one more time, might have to have assisted suicide. Like, that's such BS. The things that are attributed to Tesla existed millions of years before Tesla. Albert Einstein is a total, we now know, we've heard the, accusations, that he might have been a woman. I don't really care if you're a man or woman. That doesn't have any bearing.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Wait.
You haven't? Yeah.
Might have been a woman.
Yes, you need to research that. It's fascinating. And I'm kind of swaying toward that side after I looked at the evidence. But it doesn't matter, really.
No, it doesn't matter. I think that's interesting. Wow. Einstein may have been a woman. So
yeah, but the minds, even the minds and the contribution, a lot of it is false history. It's the narrative. It's the script that they want you to believe. Science is a religion. There's no such thing as science, and part of it I know from.
It's supposed to be a method. So science is supposed to be.
I like that word better.
It's supposed to be a method. Well, the scientific method, but this is the problem. This is the problem with a lot of scientists is that, and here's the thing. Scientists are humans, so humans tend to do this. They tend to get narrow, and they aim their at one target, and they, the problem is science is supposed to be open. Okay, it's supposed to be open, but unfortunately, in today's age, it's not. It's you can use the scientific method to test paranormal. You can use it to test all these things. That's the beautiful thing about the scientific method. And in most cases, in my opinion, I think, the paranormal has been proven over and over and over again. It's just that somewhere around the lines there, I think there's a blur between what we consider to be rational and to be fantasy. And there's a it really goes like this, you know, it really meshes together. And just because, you know, you talked about reality, but really we don't know what reality is.
I agree.
And scientists, and when you look at any physicist, when you look at any scientist, it's just the best guess they have at the moment until they get a better guess. That's all it is. And they're using the scientific method to get that guess. The same way you do when you go on a paranormal investigation, or, you know, so it's, you know, so my hat is here, Kimberly, is like, you know, in other words, we don't know shit, but we're just trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? All of us. So, but,
right. Now, and I say that too. I only know what I know, and it might change tomorrow.
Exactly. That's the beauty about having an open mind. And I mean, you know, if everyone had that with everything, you know, if everyone was willing to change as they learn, which we know in the world we live in, it doesn't happen.
No,
you know.
Right.
But well, here's the thing that's so interesting about you, because you said a lot of interesting stuff. I was, you know, a lot of things. I do have an open mind, but I also sometimes I'm a skeptic on certain things, you know. And one thing I love about you know, since meeting Ryan, you know, I met Ryan probably 3 or 4 years ago. He was a guest on my other podcast. I used to have a podcast called The Abracadam. I used to, and no longer have it. But Ryan came on, and Ryan opened my mind to, is all this connected? Is the you know, your UFOs, your ghosts, hell, even Bigfoot, even cryptids, everything is connected in a consciousness that we have. But here, before I go rambling on real quick, Kimberly, before I go too rambling, we do have a question from our very own Live Light that's here every week.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So we love questions from Liv. So here we go. She's got a question for you.
Okay.
Dr. McGeorge mentioned walk-ins. Can she expand on her theory on the soul? Do we all have souls? Are some entities just avatars in our reality without souls? Wow, this is a good one.
Yeah, it's a deep one. So I don't know if you have enough time for me to talk about my theory on souls. So we'll go to the second part, and we'll maybe get some of the first. But I have a book that I've written, actually talking about the various type of, I call it fire creation. If you're an eternal soul, I have family that works in cloning and the transfer of human consciousness. So we know that not all bodies have souls, but what I'm learning more and more is that our body is just a container. It's a container. I can put water in here. I can put vodka in here. I can put whiskey in here. I can put orange juice in here. And I can, guess what? I can dump out the water and put orange juice. I can dump out the orange juice and put whiskey. And that is as permeable and easy as they access these avatars. So there's 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and up, 100th, whatever, dimensional beings, not just human discarnates, negative ETs, not even embodied beings, malevolent consciousness, what you guys might call demons, dark energies, created avatars like servitors. We can get really complicated. But all these things, elementals, can come in these containers or merge with these containers. Sometimes they kick us out. Sometimes we walk out, and sometimes we stay in. There's also not all like my mom. I've looked at my mom year after year, month after month. I don't know. I mean, personally, I can kind of understand why nothing wants in her, but usually we don't see an empty avatar, because an empty container is high value real estate. There's lots of ETs that want to crash this, what I call a game, and they want to play. So they need to grab an avatar. And if they don't have an access to a cloning lab, which they may or may not, if they're elite, or depending on, you know, who they're connected to, one of the federations or councils or something, you know, they have to jump an avatar. And there's a lot of pods, pod projection. So there's a lot of beings in, I know this is going to stretch some of your guys, you know, concept of reality, but there's a lot of beings in all time, all space that have a lot of money, and they paid a lot of money to play this game. Because this is one of the most, there's other games, by the way, other game realms. This is a game realm. There's other game realms, but this is a really, really popular game in outer space right now. So what they do is they go in the pods, like you guys have seen in science fiction, they project consciousness into a body. But if that person dies, they're safe in their cozy little pod on their ship. That's their real body. So then their body becomes what we call a one and done. You will never see that person goes back to the pod. That's not an eternal being that's going to be trapped in the game. Most of us are trapped in the game because we run under the frequency of the Van Allen belts, which is the technology that holds us here and causes the incarnation and memory wiping cycle that we are more than a one life created by God being. That's not really the true story at all. So I have the ability with my own abilities, as well as with the technology, I can tell you what's in you, who's in you, how many are in you. I can tell you your star lineage, if you're a star seed, I can tell you what race, how many races. I can tell you dark, light, in between. I can tell you if you're walking in, walking out. A lot of times we see these dying out souls. We can tell even if you're getting ready to walk out. So there's a lot going on again that most people don't teach. They teach tiny little fragments of, but I think you hit the nail on the head, Danny, when you said it's like a puzzle. And I think we need to start putting the pieces in the same puzzle instead of starting our own puzzles. We need to have a consortium with people that think like you and I do, that are open. If you bring me evidence, I'm going to change my mind. If I bring you evidence, I would hope you would consider to maybe change your mind. And I wish we could get this bridge where we can start working together and sharing our research and sharing our pictures and our audio and our thoughts, and we can help humanity progress and all get on the same page. Sorry, that was a side rant.
No, absolutely. I think that's, and which so are you saying like we're in a simulation? When you talk about the game, is that kind of, because that's a very debated, that's a very debated theory right now. Very popular.
It's a debated theory until you're standing in your house and all the walls dissolve and am I allowed to swear?
Absolutely.
You freak the fuck out. You talk about freaking out.
Sometimes there's no other word that you can use whenever the walls begin to dissolve. So
yeah, I don't even know what word I was going to use, but I know you probably think there's more terrifying things to happen, but honestly, I've had some scary things happen in my life, and I faced down some scary things and still probably will face down some scary things. That is one of the most terrifying things that ever happened. You talk about your reality crumbling. When the walls of your house dissolve and you're standing there solid in your body and you think it's daytime and you think you're awake, there's a problem. That something isn't as we've been told. Thankfully, whatever consciousness I went to where, I became higher than the frequency of my house so that I was kind of out of this simulation for a minute, lowered it and the walls slammed back in. But that's happened 2 or 3 times. And it's every time it happens, I still get terrified because it's like, you feel like you just don't even know what to do.
Now, did you reach this through like a meditation state?
No, I'm not even going to, let's just put it this. Okay. I'll tell you what room I was in. I was in the bathroom doing normal things.
Granted, I've been in the bathroom and the walls have crumbled too, but I think that was something completely different. But go ahead.
No, that was the first time it happened was, my bathroom wall. And that was even worse because I'm like, can these people see me? Because I'm like, neighbors and stuff. I'm like, wait, what's going, really? The whole thing was just horrible. So that's one of my, and again, when this is an experiencer, I mean, that's the name of this group.
Absolutely. I'm an experiencer. Absolutely.
When you have an experience, it doesn't matter. You could never convince me ever, Danny, that my walls did. Do you know what I mean? Because
I know. 100%. 100%.
My experience. And so enough things like that. I'll tell you another thing. I tell people an experiment they can do. Even though I don't like the word science, I'm very experience oriented. I want to show you how maybe some of what I believe could possibly be true with facts. So I tell people, so one of the things I'm big on is you guys are being drugged. You guys are being shot up by agencies, and I mean, not Men in Black. I mean, physical agencies that work at desks, teams, CIA, whatever, Homeland, that work in your neighborhoods. They're coming in, they're taking you, they're shooting you guys up. They're doing different things with drugs and the secret space program. And people are like, that's so crazy. Okay, is it? I'll bring you to the table. Let's go to the table and do an experiment. And so I tell people to go on Amazon and go to their friends who work in labs and get the biggest drug panel pea cup that they can. And I said, first thing, you promise me for 7 days, you get up, you hit the bathroom, and you pee in that cup, you're going to be calling me freaking out, and we're going to be starting to have real conversations, because I reverse engineer things. I discover these things myself. So I feel drugged. I feel drugged. I feel drugged. Screw it. Why do I feel drugged when I wake up in the morning? I'm going to get a pee cup. That's logical to me. You feel drugged. You try to prove it, or you go have your blood drawn. You say, I feel like someone drugged me. I mean, again, that's not experience. You can see the Molly, you can see the cocaine, you can see the LSD on my pee cup, and a lab will say, yeah, that's true. It might not be pure setting, but I mean, it's pure enough that that's not going to give you that many false positives 7 days in a row. And so I'm not on any of those drugs. I don't believe all my food is drugged with that. And then you wake up. I have a needle mark I found yesterday. You can't see it, but it's right here. And it's on my arm, in the middle of my forearm. And it's clear as day. If you know what a needle mark looks like, it's a needle mark. I didn't stick myself with a needle. I haven't been to the doctor. So how do you explain some of these? There's something going on here, Danny, that most people aren't talking about, can't prove, or don't know.
Wow, that's definitely, I have not heard that theory yet, but that's definitely interesting. Do you so like on the simulation side, like how you talked about how like it's almost like a game. So so is there a higher being playing this game? Who do you think is playing this game?
No, I mean, I don't know. I think we are the higher beings, but I'm not going to go into my theory really of how we got into the game. But there's a lot of Star Trek. If you've ever watched Star Trek, there's a lot of Star Trek episodes, especially the series, maybe I guess the movies too, but I know for sure the series, where they go on a holodeck, and they go into a holographic world. And that world, as you're watching, they go into that world, and they're, getting shot at. They're shooting each other. They're seeing dinosaurs or creatures, or fighting aliens, or meeting other races. That's real. They're doing it on these holograms, and, they're interacting real. And that's what I believe. Actually, I have pictures, which I just showed my group a couple of the pictures. I teach a monthly group. But I always say I'm saving my best evidence, because someday I'm going to be asked to speak at Contact in the Desert. Then I'm going to show you guys even though half the people there know exactly what I'm telling you, they just don't talk about it. But I'm going to show you my pictures of what we're on. I have pictures of the ship that we're on. I have pictures.
So we're on a ship. This is kind of what's taking. I mean, I just thinking out loud, there's times I've thought about, I've even thought about, what if Earth is a ship, or what if, the moon,
well,
you've heard the theories about the moon is not really a moon.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I'll get to that in a minute.
Go ahead.
You know what the ship is called? You know what's on the side of the ship? URTH. That's the name of the ship.
URTH.
Earth. URTH.
Oh. There we go. Yeah.
Earth. It's the Earth ship. And the moon. Okay. I am promising you, I thought this. When I was 3 years old, one night I looked up at the moon, and I'm like, that looks fake as fuck. Of course, I didn't know the word fuck, because I probably would have said it more back then if I knew it. But it really is. Like, if that doesn't look like, because it's a hologram. And I'm talking about the stereotypical beautiful, do you know what I mean? With the divots in it and the little star thing, the tan hologram that they put up, this full moon one, not the wolf moon or the strawberry moon or all that distorted, color stuff, blue moon. But all of it's hologram, because the moon, they've already shown us what the moon is. The moon is an old base. It looks exactly like the Death Star, and it's an active base. And guess what? If you take your little eyes or your telescope or your binoculars out on a day, are they going to completely kick me off now? Maybe, probably.
No, not at all. Keep going.
I can't see Danny, so I don't know if you guys can still hear me. So
yeah. I'm here. We can hear you. We can hear you and see you here, Kimberly.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, they tend to do this when I get into this stuff for sure. But
this is called Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. So keep in mind, we go out there. So we're going out there. So don't worry.
But if you look, at the moon with your naked eye and up to the left side, you can see some of the structures on the moon.
Well, I've heard people say that, and there's so much. One thing I do want to point out that's interesting about our moon, and if people who don't know this is what's really interesting about our moon. It is ginormous, and the people don't understand. When you look at other planets' moons, their moons are much, much smaller compared to the size of the planet. Our moon is too big to be a moon, with the, considering the size of our planet.
Right.
The other moons that orbit these other planets in our solar system do not affect the tides and have an effect like our moon has a major effect on our planet. So there's a lot of, it's almost like, was this thing put here intentionally by another intelligence, or, there's more. And even, I don't know, like if you look at the theory to how the moon, through science, how the moon came about is like two planets hit each other and a piece of Earth broke off, and that's how we got the moon. I mean, that's really, and things just kind of, I think that's kind of a stretch, to be honest with you. So, but I don't know. I always found our moon very interesting based on just little odd facts like that. So
you can also see, although I see it better against the sun than I do the moon. This is just me. But
and that's the other thing where it lines up perfect too. You talk about that when we have our full eclipse. I mean, how odd is that? That it's the perfect size at the perfect distance to be able to have a 100%. So many things are odd when you start talking about the moon. You can get deep on that topic.
You can also see the ships flying off and on the moon, but I can see them.
I've seen those videos. Yeah,
and I can see them easier flying on and off through the sun gate because it's a sun simulator. How I know the sun is a sun simulator is with my naked eyes, because I have dimensional vision. I can see the bulbs, and I can tell you when they blow, and I can go to the Seshi cameras and I can tell by looking at their cameras when a bulb is blown. And you'll know when a bulb is blown because the light will change. The light will look wrong. It'll be like a dim, dusty light for days and days and days and days until they change the bulbs. So some things, again, I can see the bulbs with my eyes. I know that's not an organic, thing of worship or whatever people do with the sun.
Well, let me ask you this, because like I said, you're really in touch. You're really in touch with your consciousness, and what are some you said you've helped out into some like investigations, correct, with using your psychic abilities?
Quite a few.
Can you give us a story about one? I would love to hear one.
There's what is it even called? I don't even know what it's called. I think it's called The Gift of Sight. It's out on Amazon right now. That Stacey Brown filmed with C. Wayne Wilson and I don't know if you've ever had him on. You want to stretch your belief, have him on. He's so entertaining. You would love him. People love him. He's just a great entertainer, but a good friend of mine. But he's really into Bigfoot, and he taught me. He taught me, or showed me, that I could see Bigfoot and that I had a relationship with these creatures. And
oh, it looks like we have lost you, Kimberly. Give us just a second here, guys. Looks like Kimberly got bumped off here, but we were having a little bit of connection issues with Kimberly, but let's see if we can't get her back on here real quick. Let's see here. I tell you what, if you guys keep in mind also, you guys watching, be sure to chime in with your questions, okay? Because, we've got plenty of time to take questions. We would love to hear your questions. And I'm sure Kimberly would love to answer them. But yeah, it looks like she did get bumped off here. So give her just a second, and I'm sure we're working to get her back on here ASAP. Let's see. Hold on one second. Apologize about that, guys. What's up, Werder? How you doing, man? Thanks for tuning in. We got Lisa. Lisa's back. Here we go. And Galactic Grape. If that's not the coolest name for tonight's episode, Galactic Grape. I think that's a super cool name. Oh, here she comes. She has appeared back. Ta-da-da! All right,
Yeah,
Kimberly.
they're like, no moon and sun stuff. We're gonna
No
get you
moon and sun stuff.
Yeah,
No.
that's what they didn't like. They don't care. I don't think they're going to care about this. You guys can let me out. I'm going to talk paranormal now. You don't have to kick me off. So,
Well, no. It wasn't us. It wasn't us. Keep in mind. So, and I was getting ready to have to.
No, it wasn't. No, I mean,
more pins. So here we go. I had to entertain them. But no,
you
we're good.
did.
We're back. We got some questions. So we're going to get right into questions. But no, I want to get after this question. I want to get into the investigation. I want to hear that story. Okay.
All
So
right.
let's get Galactic Grape. First of all, kudos to that name, Galactic Grape. There we go. I think that's the perfect name you could name your child one day. Galactic Grape. Here we go. So the sun is a simulator. Are all planets, galaxies, etc., just simulated? And if so, do they still affect us? Does astrology have actual meaning?
Well, that's a big one to unpack. So the sun and the moon both affect us. Well, the moon and the sun both have computers on them that run the matrix reality. So they both put off frequencies. So when there's a full moon, so people are like, charge your crystals in the full moon. No, dodo brain, no. When you charge your crystals in the full moon, you're getting the matrix AI computer program in your crystals. You want to bury your crystals in earth where there's organic sentient beings that can help cleanse them. Don't put it under AI and the program of this reality. That's what they want you to do. So don't even get me going in all the I have a whole thing I call the Mythbusters of consciousness where I go through. I could probably do 1,000 of them. But the moon does affect you because it's, we're frequency based. The moon is frequency based. When the moon is really full, I always, tell my kids and my friends and my clients, I'm like, just be really easy on yourself, baby yourself when the moon's full, because that's going to be under the matrix computer program. New moon is when you create. New moon is when you make investments and try new things. And because you have less influence of the programming of this, they're going to crash me.
We're here.
They don't like this either. With the programming of this reality is when there's no less influence, from the sun or moon. And like I said, the computers are there. So, that's where a lot of the programming is coming directly. I don't know where the third computer is. There's 3 computers that run this reality. One is on the moon. One is on the sun simulator. Oh, and if you go to the Secchi cameras, Danny, SECCHI, and you look at one of the suns, I think it's usually the neon green sun, you can see the ship wings sitting on top of the sun simulator that the computer's on in that ship that runs our reality. So again, do people ever point out that there's like actual pictures of this stuff? I'm like the only one that I ever hear, does this stuff. But anyway, back to the rest of that question was, what was the rest of it? It was about the sun simulator. And then what was the second part?
Let's see. And if so, how does it still affect us? Does astrology have an actual meaning?
So really, let's go all the way back out to the all. So everything's a simulation because everything's a created reality. A lot of us, we're eternal beings, we're zillions of years old. We've been galaxies. When I leave here, I could be a galaxy. I could create a galaxy. A lot of the new worlds that the Federation's trying to take over, sounds like a Star Trek plot. It is. They're beings like it. We're fire creation beings. We can say, oh, I'm going to start a desert civilization. And I'm going to create beings, that look like this, half dinosaur, half man. And we're going to start this little civilization and we're going to wander around and be nomads in the desert. That's how civilizations start, you guys, whether they're here or whether they're in the galaxy. And then that's a whole nother story. So if you want to be technical, in my opinion, everything's a simulation. Anything that's ever exists is a simulation because the only thing that's, quote, real is the all. And everything else comes out of the all as a creative expression of whatever being or any aspect where all aspects of the all is creating. But no, there are, this is a game simulation. This is a hell realm game simulation. We're in a hell realm game. This is not an amazing place. It has good parts, but it's not the best place. It's really hard to be happy and succeed here. Let's be honest. It really is for most of us. And, and then when you factor spirituality and everything else in, it just gets crazy. But other places are different. Venus, here we go. The elites don't go underground to their bunkers. Do you honestly think a trillionaire is going to go underground and hang out there and be happy? No.
When you say
They go
trillionaire,
through one of
are you referring to somebody we all know here on Earth, or is this
all of them.
somebody else?
Name one, and they all go here. What I'm going to say next, they all go here. No, they go through one of the jump gates that they have access to, and they go to Venus. Venus is where the, I don't want to say certain names. I don't know how, whatever, but where the E people, E island people, that's where they go. That's where they go. You think they're killed? No, they go there. You think they die? No, they go there. Sometimes they're transferred into a younger body or clone body, and they keep living, or then they recycle them back here. So everything we know about reality, it to me is laughable, but we're inching closer to it being more found out and more accepted,
Well, let's do this. We've got one more question here, and then we got to cut to a commercial break, but let's see if we can't get this one in real quick by Live Live. If our reality is a fake simulation and we're in a game, what is our purpose as individuals and as humanity? Why are we here?
Well, it's individual. So I also have like 999 other aspects of myself right now, in other places, other realms, other timelines, other worlds, other bodies, other avatars, other consciousnesses doing multiple things. And so do you guys. Some people have one, and some people have, thousands. And so it's experience. So if you are a zillion, like I am, I'm first wave out of the all. Like I've done it all. I've been everything that you could even think of. I've lived it all. I've done it all. So they're like, hey, we created this really cool game. And it's really challenging because you're all wise, all powerful, superhuman, best of the best at everything, da, 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 da. But guess what? Can you win this game? Because we memory wipe you, girl. We memory wipe. And me, what I said, oh, I'm so smart, so intelligent, so old, so powerful. Bring it on. I've played other realm games. So have you guys. Some of us came here to play the game. Different ones of us are here for different reasons. It's not what the Dolores canons say. It's not one thing. We're individual. We're here to be individuals and be fully individual in our experience as this aspect of consciousness that we're choosing to be. So I got trapped here. I came here to play a game, like I just told you, playing the game, Earth Hell Realm game. But guess what? I got caught up in a war that was part of the game between the Draco Reptilians and the Galactic Federation. And as Stephen King tells us, right, in his little series book called Under the Dome, I got caught in the dome. I opened up a portal. I got a bunch of people out, my people, which I'm not going to go into who and they caught me. I was one of the last people caught before I could close the portal, like we see on Charmed, like we see on all these TV shows, Stargate, and get out the other side. I was trapped here. Maybe you came here to wake up the humans so they know how to go ahead.
What you're saying, Kimberly, is like each individual has their own purpose for being here. So, we're not all here for the same reason. But I tell you what, guys, what we're going to do, we're going to be back right after these messages. We're going to talk to Kimberly about Bigfoot, exorcism, and some of the investigations that she's went on using her psychic abilities. Hang around. We'll be right back. Check out these messages. See you soon.
Have you ever wondered Or maybe just thought to yourself, if there were others just like you, you know, people with extraordinary abilities, psychogenic advancement, and perhaps unique intuitions. Maybe you just wondered if there were other people who experienced unimaginable, unexplained, or even unusual and paranormal events. Are there people who have more questions, more fears than answers? Well, you're not alone. You've never been alone. We believe you. Sign up for EA today.
Business. It's your property.
Your assets are worth protecting. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services specializes in patrolling and inspecting residential or commercial property against fire, theft, vandalism, terrorism, and illegal activity. People and buildings are monitored to prevent crime. Keep your property, your people, and your assets safe from threat. Our elite staff are dual licensed private investigators and security guards. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services.
Go to blacklightiss.com.
All right, welcome back to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, and we are here with Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. Kimberly, I tell you what, fascinating conversations so far, some really way out there topics, which I'm loving it, and I know our viewers are loving it as well. One thing, though, I do want to touch base on, you had started to talk about on one of the investigations that you had helped with. And if you don't mind, do you care to, tell us one of those stories? I would love to hear it. Oh, wait a minute, Kimberly, you're muted. I think, see if your mute button's on. Here, give me just a second here, guys.
Uh-oh.
There we go. We can hear you. Say something.
All right. I had muted myself. So
there we go.
So one of the last investigations I went on is actually, like I said, in a documented in a movie you can find on what's it called? Amazon Prime. But anyway, we went to Charlottesville, Virginia, and they didn't tell me anything about this house. This was like a cold investigation. They're like, let's just see what happens, what you can pick up. And so as I approached the front door of this house, I started feeling really sick, which is my body signal for extremely evil, just evil from the pit of hell evil. And I started gagging like I was going to throw up. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I say this out loud. I'm being filmed. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, somebody was killed and raped here. and there was like demonic energy and people were possessed and they were dragged out one of the back windows. And I just like went into the scene, and it ended up being completely true, the whole thing. And it was really cool to have my abilities like documented, even though it wasn't the most flattering. Me, like my daughters are like, why did you let them film you throwing up? I'm like, I didn't know I was going to throw up. Like, it was very raw. Like, here's a medium. Let's see if she can really, kind of like prove, so it was really cool. Then we tried to, I think we tried to do a seance and connect with some of the spirits, and we ran a voice box, and we got some really good EVPs, but that was I don't get creeped out very much anymore. I've seen it all, done it all, but that was a really hard place to be around and in. And it was next to a Civil War battlefield. And here's what's interesting, and another fallacy to me of the paranormal world. We walked that battlefield for 3 or 4 hours, not one hit, not one apparition, not one movie loop playing. It was completely clean. Like, it was clean, no creep factor, but and that's to say, just because something bad happened doesn't mean you're gonna get activity, although you're gonna tend to get better activity. If I had to pick, if they said, we'll give you $1 million, you can spend the night at this graveyard, you can spend a night in this haunted house, or you can spend the night at this like haunted lake, I'd be like, graveyard.
What was the name of the movie? What was the name of the film that
I think it's called, this is so dumb, I think it's called, I don't know. Oh no, that was the first one. What is it called? Hold on, I'll tell you in a minute. I have to look it up. I don't know. I haven't even watched it. My daughter's like, have you watched it? I'm like, no. It's hard watching.
Are you in the film, or is it?
Yeah, it's about my friend Bill, C. Wilson, the guy, Bigfoot guy, and me, and we go on Bigfoot cryptid, we go on paranormal investigations, we go on this haunted bridge investigation. So we go on numerous investigations in this movie, and they're filmed through the whole thing. I'll tell you what it is in a minute. Hold on. It is called, maybe my internet, as we know, is being Gift of Sight. Thank you. I don't even know the name
of Sight on Amazon Prime right now.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Yeah. Gift of Sight. Cool deal. Definitely. Well, you guys definitely check that out. I'm going to check it out now. Gift of Sight. So this was like an paranormal investigation. Now, you had mentioned something about, did you ever help any like police, missing people, anything like that? Any stories there?
Yeah, I have a lot of stories. They were mainly, like I said, occult crimes, them asking, they had leads, they would give you a case file, and they had so much information, and then they wanted to know where can we bodies type of things. And again, I'm really good at land energies, and I'm really good. I can't explain how it works. Like, that's how I see and get a lot of the Class A photography that I get. I get it by like bouncing a frequency, like the being or the creature or the body or whatever. It like pings me, and I just know where to look, where to point the camera, where to tell somebody to go. And so most of it was, dig here, go down this road, turn left, turn right. Or this is hard. I would see a whole scene and I would have to describe it, and they would say, go further out. So I'd be like, there's a big oak tree and there's like a white house with a red roof, and they'd be like, pull further out. And then I would go further out and be like, okay, there's a clearing to the right, and there's a garage that's falling down to the left, and they'd go further out. And eventually I would give them a marker, like a highway, and then we could trace back in. So see, this is what I mean, you guys. It's not like medium. It's not like super glamorous where you talk to serial killers in the jail or anything, which I don't think I'd want to do anyway. It was really practical, narrowing down, and then they would dig, and I wouldn't always be there. Sometimes I would, but a lot of times, again, it's remote. But I mean, they found animal bones in occult sites. They found, I hate to say, human bones in some pretty big, this is, Satan worship. And let's be honest, some of that stuff happens. And so there were some grisly things I was witness to, but it's not glamorous. It's really disgusting.
So let me ask you this, is because I could only imagine, like, personally, I could never be a cop. I couldn't be a surgeon. I couldn't be anything, because I think it would give me like, post-traumatic stress of some sort. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to see these things. And somebody, the same thing as like, who's using, their psychic abilities to investigate crime scenes and stuff. I could imagine that would be That would be horrible, to see some of the things that you may see, Now, whenever you had these, is it like it's instead of like an ongoing stream video, is it kind of like photos? You get a picture here, a picture there.
I'm very controlled in my remote viewing. If I were to look at somebody's past lives or timelines or all time, all space lives, then it's hard because it appears as thousands of movie screens. And then I pick a movie to watch. I zero in on, oh, you want, the past life in Earth? Okay, I'll zero in. And then I pull it out. And it's like little tiny screens. I can't explain it. And then I pull them out and watch them. Or I immerse myself in them, kind of become a character in them. I can view them from the inside out or outside in, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It's hard to explain because I've done it since I was young. And since I was 3, I'm used to seeing gory things because when I was 3, I would remote view the police runs, the fire runs, and the ambulance runs, and I couldn't stop it. Now I have control, but then they would just when I heard the sirens, they would just take me to these runs, and you see some really grisly things that I still can't shake from back then. But you get a little numb to it too.
Let's talk about this because I think this is interesting. When we talked about like how our human body is just kind of like a glass, and there's empty, and there's people full of things. The people in this world, because we do know, good and evil are very real things, or maybe there's just. And I don't mean this in a depressing, dark way, but maybe good doesn't exist. Maybe good is just normal, and then there's evil. Do you get what I mean? But what makes people evil? What are they full of? What is their shell consumed of? Are they possessed? Are they?
So let me take you into a different perspective for a second. So you go to Walmart and you buy Call of Duty 27 or whatever we're on, and you plug it in and you start shooting people and they start shooting you, and whatever you do in Call of Duty, I don't even know, or any game like that. Are you going to say these people are so evil? I'm so evil because I'm in this game and I'm killing people and they're killing me? No, it's a game.
Yeah.
And I almost got kicked off Coast to Coast for saying this. Richard went to commercials. I've been to Coast to Coast 3 times, and I love Richard, but he's very religious and I'm very not religious. So we have a little clash there. But he kicked me off because I went into this with him because he got really offended because I said, pull way back in all time, all space, right now, my full consciousness, this personality, this being is in other places and other times, playing other games, living other lives, being a man, being a woman, being an ET, being a horse, who knows, and, we're all running at the same time. This me actually has the least moral responsibility because this me, I 100%, I will put my life on this and the life of my children, life of my dogs that we're in a game simulation. That's how much evidence I've accumulated. I am firmly in belief of it. So yes, in the game, it matters. When you're playing Call of Duty and you're talking to your friends, you're like, you got to get this guy and we want the points and set off the bomb. Like you're in it, like it matters. And you're like, oh crap, we're dead. He said, she said, whatever. It matters. Like you're in it. But when you leave, die, whatever you want to call it, get out of that perspective and you look back. If you want to be a serial killer, be a serial killer. This is a game. Now, I'm not saying there's not consequences because this is a mirrored reality system. So if you choose to be a good character, just like in a game, character is going to make choices and have things happen because they're a good character. If you play a bad character, you're also going to reap. You could reap lethal injection. You could reap someone killing you in revenge. I'm not saying there's not consequences. I'm not stupid. But I am also would put my life on this. Are there hell realms? Yes. There's not just one hell. This is a hell realm game.
Okay. So before we get into that,
okay.
So just to clarify kind of what you're saying, it's like people can choose which character they want to play in this game. So they choose which character they want to play, but now you said the word hell realm. So you're saying is there not only is there's consequences in this simulation, but it sounds like you're saying that there's consequences into like an afterlife of this simulation.
There's not. There's not. there only is if you let the controllers convince you to do a life review and they say, oh, Danny, you killed 70 people. Guess what? Why didn't you go back and play a good character this time and redeem yourself? So yeah, that's a consequence if you let them mind F you into thinking there is no life review. But if you think there's a life review, they'll give you life reviews to get you back in to use your energy, because guess who fuels the game? Without the fire creation being, the NPCs don't fuel the game. The empty clones don't fuel the game. The fire creation beings fuel the game. We fuel. Your social security number is attached on the stock market. They make millions off some of us. I've said this the last couple shows. I'm so proud because my brother only has 300 people invested in him. You can look this up too. You can look it up. There is a website. You can look up your social security number.
Well, two things. Two things. I want to stop you real quick.
Okay.
I don't know a lot. I don't know much about this, but I will say this. There's it sounds like, and I'm trying to find the proper words to use. It sounds like when you okay, like I've heard people talk about near-death experiences, and I've heard different type of theories about what's actually going on. And a lot of times we like to trace it back to like a religious experience, like it's heaven or hell. Now, something that you just mentioned, though, that it's almost like a manipulation is what they're trying when they try to get you to go back.
Oh, it is.
Like, so, I think that's what you're talking about. I've heard that, and keep in mind now, Kimberly, I say everything's a theory because I think ultimately, but in this theory is whoever they are, and I've heard it used, as aliens or other entities, interdimensional beings. They con you into coming back.
Yeah. That too.
And to kind of doing the role that you were saying, you can do this or do that. I've heard that theory before. Absolutely, I have. And then I've also heard the social security number thing. I've almost like a raffle kind of. I've heard that theory as well. So on both,
you can prove that. You can look it up. I have like 300,000 people invested in me. My brother has 300 people invested in him. Who do you think's the more successful? I'm really proud of that fact, actually. But then there's this whole really hard thing to explain where we're trying to upgrade to 5, 6, 7D and higher. And the elite that have been profiting off of our labor, our literal labor, because that's what they trade. They trade our life force labor on these lists, and you can look it up. And I need to look this up before I go on the next show and start blabbing about this, because I've done it, and it's called a search in numbers. So you look up your social security number, and then it's on a certain website. But anyway, you guys can probably Google it and figure it out. I don't know. They might have it hidden or wiped, but I can find it.
Well, let's. We got another question here.
But
we got another question here, Kimberly, from Galactic Grape. Is there a difference between killing a zombie or killing a saint? So I guess it comes back to where...
Not in the game. Only in the game. In the game. You're not going to probably go to jail for killing a zombie unless you're just saying it's a zombie. But if they knew it was a real zombie, probably not. And then, define saint. So I like what you were saying earlier. So this is what's been so fascinating to me. I can read people down to the bone. I can tell you your subconscious thoughts, your conscious thoughts. One of the things I used to do that I don't do anymore, so don't ask me to do it, is people would hire me to tell them if their spouse was cheating, because I can give them license plate numbers, descriptions, house numbers, restaurants, what they're thinking, I can give, anyway. And then and guess what happened? That blew back on me, because then I started getting called as witnesses in divorce cases, and and it's horrible because they don't even believe psychics. I think it's awkward. Why are they doing this to me? No, this information on this. But anyway, wait, what did you ask me? I got off my train of thought with that. When he was asking the difference between a saint and a zombie, it would only matter in the game as far as temporary consequences, because this is what's been so surprising. I have killed trillions of beings since I came out of the all. So have you. So has Galactic Grape. So has lived. If these people have real souls and they didn't just come out of the all yesterday. Now, maybe if you came out of the all yesterday, maybe you haven't killed anyone, because I'm telling you, you've been multiple ET races. Some have been what we consider good healers, saviors, protectors. Some have been like Dracos, raiding, slaughtering, raping, eating humans. There is no person, no sociopath, no pedophile, no murderer, and opposite. Let's go opposite. No saint that you have not also done that role. Being, and I'm only using years. There is no time and space, but using Earth years, trillions and trillions and trillions. Do you think you're going to be happy being a saint for trillions of years? Do you think you're going to be happy being Jack the Ripper for trillions of years? No, you're going to mix it up. And that's what we see. We see people going, even in our past lives. You might have been a madam and you might have been Abraham Lincoln. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to mix it up. You have to start thinking that you're such a small being. You're not. You're such a powerful, expanded, superhuman, eternal being. And they have us thinking we're just these tiny, tiny things in these tiny, tiny boxes. And we're just absolutely not. That's not the truth.
Well, here, let's get this question from Liv. She's got another one, good one here for us. So we don't have just one soul. Are we living in parallel lives with multiple souls, or is it just unlimited aspects of one unique soul? That's a good question.
Kind of. Okay, so you come out of the all, and we have what's called the oversoul. Some people's oversoul just keeps going. So oversoul, life to life, oversoul. Some people split into 10, and then those 10 split into 10, and then those split into 10. So it's individual. It's what do you want to experience? How many simultaneous lives and people and beings do you want to experience? It's your choice. And you can learn. I have learned, and I have a friend that can actually do it better than I, but I have learned I can go to these different aspects. I can go to my clones. We could even get into how most of the fire creation beings, especially the super soldiers and the people that are high up in the military programs, the movies and TV shows are based on them. So you have these really cool lives that happen at night that you're not aware of, and that happen in other aspects of your soul that you're not aware of, but you can learn how to go. I can look at mine from the inside. I have also had a few incidents where I've completely gone out of this reality, fully into that reality, living that reality, because all you do is switch your point of attention. So the only reason I'm on Beyond the Tinfoil Hat podcast is because this point of attention is choosing to play this game and be here. But I have other aspects of me that are in their own point of attentions, doing their own thing, both not usually in the game, usually outside the game, or in parallel lives, parallel realities, or what we call shadow realities. One of the entrances to one of the most famous shadow realities that I would say everybody knows about, but I mean everybody in the intelligence agencies and people like me, it exists under the London Bridge. So you enter through a portal under the London Bridge in this reality to get to that shadow world, shadow reality, which is interesting because there's a lot of shows I hear, even Peaky Blinders and shows like that refers to some of this stuff, you know?
So you're saying there's an actual physical place that we can, under the London Bridge. It is. I have not heard
a lot of these disappearances. A lot of these disappearances, even in national parks, but not just in national parks, they're disappearing through portals. Some of them or a lot of, I mean, what you guys don't know is in gas stations and in restaurants and in, of course, under the city and the tunnels and different places, there's actual portals. If you stumble into a portal with a holographic shield over it, you think a mirror is a mirror, and you stick your hand through it, maybe like you got some lipstick on you, you get too close, you stick your hand through. Some of these portals do suck you through, just like they shows us on Stargate and these other TV shows, and you're gone. If you aren't a person like me with conscious memory and understand how this avatar works and understand how this world works, I could probably get back if I wasn't captured. But most people don't know how to get back when they're sucked through a portal. So they disappear. No sign of them again. No one saw what happened. They're just gone. Sometimes that's what happens. You know, they're off planet. They're in another timeline. They're in another world. They're in another reality. Because again, we do not understand who we are. We don't remember, and we don't understand where we are. And we don't understand how where we are and who we are fits into all time and space. I am telling you, if you started really studying this, Danny, you are an intelligent man. You would start, once the pieces start going together, your life becomes interesting, exciting, and fascinating, and you become much more powerful because then you can win this game.
Well, here, let's do this because you did mention you had a friend. You mentioned your friend who turned you on to Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. Now, like I said, you know, some people don't like to do this. Some people don't like to mix your corn and your potatoes, but I do, okay? And Bigfoot is something that, you know, sometimes I've wondered, I'm like, is Bigfoot like an interdimensional being? What is going on with that? So let me hear your opinion about Bigfoot, cryptids, and how did your friend kind of get you turned on to that?
All right, I'll tell you the story. So I was working a part-time loser job, long story, not going to go into it, long time ago. And as you do in part-time loser jobs, you surf YouTube, right? While you're working. And so, or not working. And so I start out watching like something on like cooking lasagna, and I end up watching Bigfoot videos, right? And once you start watching these Bigfoot videos where we found Bigfoot, I'm like, they did? And then you watch it and there's like nothing there.
And then you cooking with Bigfoot. That's a great YouTube show. Hey,
so I kept watching all these videos just where these people are. So then I came across this guy, C. Wayne Wilson, and he's like, do you see this giant in my backyard? And I am like, and he's like, typical mountain man, in my opinion. Don't be offended, Wayne, if you hear this show. But, and he used to be a professional wrestler. He's a big, huge guy. And he's a great guy, heart of gold, but he's a little rough, and he's like, this is a giant and this is this. And I'm like, this guy is freaking crazy. So I watched 3 or 4 or 5 more of his videos. And then I'm like, I have the psyche, human discarnates. I see things. I've always seen things. Not as good as some people, but I started watching his videos and I'm like, I think I'm going crazy. I'm like, I'm actually seeing what he's seeing. So when he points over here on his video and he says, do you see this creature? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going crazy because I actually see something where he's pointing. And so come to find out, Wayne lived an hour away from me.
Oh, wow.
We love to stalk people on the internet. At least I do. Admit it, we all do. So I stalk him on the internet and I send him an instant message. I'm like, Wayne, I know you don't know me, but could I come to your house and see, like, if I see big, like, who does that? Only me. And so my daughter and I went over there, and I'm telling you, this is his old house, I'll tell you something that'll blow your mind in a minute that I might be able to find. He probably would have it, but it relates to where he used to live. So I pull up and there's this tree line, and I'm like, why does it look like a monkey swinging on this tree? And it was a baby Bigfoot swinging on the tree. And all the Bigfoot, there was this farm field with this woods. All the Bigfoot had come out to meet me. They knew I was coming. And Wayne came out and he said, do you see? Do you see? They came out to meet you. And I started crying because it's humbling, you guys. These interdimensional creatures like know about me. Like, I don't know. This is way at the start of my journey into all this stuff, really, about 10 years ago. And it was just so humbling to me that these beings, knew me and cared to have a relationship with me. Long story short, I started diving deep into Bigfoot. And thanks to Wayne, letting me see them at his house and document things. And, since then we've gone on many, many investigations together, all kinds. But, and now I can see him like a mother. But, what I found out in doing my own investigation separate from Wayne is, how everybody's like, they're in the forest, and they're not. So first of all, Bigfoot, we lump together with anything that's dark and furry. And I did too. So we see these small creatures that are dark and furry. There's a lot of them in North Carolina, or medium creatures. We call them Bigfoot. I'm not even sure they're the classical, what you would call classical Bigfoot. They are furry. They are black, but I don't know if that's what they even really are. They talk to me. I know it sounds crazy, but I have pictures of them downtown Winston-Salem. That's a city. And I've told anyone I'm willing to prove this. I could come to anyone's house and show them cryptids, little people on camera. I could teach you how to see the creatures in your woods. But now I live in a habitation site. I live on 4 acres of quartz at the bottom of a quartz mountain range in the forest. I live in a habitation site. I have dogmen appear on my security camera in the daytime, in the flesh, black fur, full picture body. And people are like, why don't you show pictures? Well, I have shown pictures. Go see why I don't show pictures. I went on, what's his name? Russ's show, Leak Project. And I showed a ton of pictures, not some of these, because some of these I've gotten since then. And I got mutilated and crucified. And my girls said, Mom, we can't read that crap about you because they say horrible. This sounds babyish, but I'm a little more sensitive than I appear. No matter how crazy the things I talk about, I don't get as much crap for the stuff I'm talking about tonight as I do when I show pictures. I have a Class A, Danny, I should send it to you, of a little person dressed in military garb that guarded the back door and introduced himself to me the first 3 nights I was at this house. It is Class A photograph. And you know what they said I did? They said I went to the store and bought a G.I. Joe doll and put it there and took pictures, even though it's off my security camera, time and date. I have the original file on my phone. You know what I mean? Like you can't, this is what I always say, and I don't know if you believe the same. I could take a literal Bigfoot, Patty style, which we could go in another discussion. I believe she's fake, but Patty style, you could come and you would say, shake hands, and you would say, oh, that's a man in a suit. If you have the cognitive dissonance that there's no such thing as Bigfoot that interacts with our world. But mine interact with me all the time. Again, I don't know if they're Bigfoot, but I have the curved trees. I have multiple crosses. We have a deal, and sometimes they disobey and I yell at them. They're not supposed to take down trees. If they don't bother me, I don't bother them. They look out.
I do want to clarify this real quick, Kimberly. Okay. One thing about Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, this is a safe place for you to come share your stories, even show pictures if you have them. We would always love to see pictures. No one's going to crucify you or tear you apart here like that. And if they do, I will roast them because I get paid for a living to make fun of things. And this isn't where I make fun of stuff at, by the way. So so don't ever worry about that. Okay. Like I said, we keep an open mind. That's what's called Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. Definitely very interesting. Now I want to clarify this. Okay. Because whenever you're talking, I want to make sure whenever you first saw the Bigfoots, you said they came out to you. Was this in this reality or was this in almost a spiritual type realm?
No, I mean, I went over to Wayne's house. It was daytime.
So it was physically at Wayne's house and they came out and was like, barbecue, baby.
Yeah.
You're ready to party.
Yeah. And even my daughter, who, even though most of my daughters do have psychic abilities, this daughter didn't know that she even saw them. And if I show you my dog man on the security camera, you're going to say, that's a dog man. Do you know what I mean? Like this wasn't a thing like, ooh, that's fuzzy. It might be this. Now I'll even tell you, I'm going to go further with the Wayne story. So Wayne contacted me and said, the creepiest thing happened. And I said, what? He goes, I think I got the Bigfoot in trouble because he would publish all these videos. If you go look at his channel, old channel, you'll see all these from his life. And he was starting to get recognized in, his community. And there was some buzz and he got on some shows. Well, a white van with people dressed in hazard suits, he has this on video, pulled up at the field across his house, ran through the field for like 20, 30 minutes. I can't believe he didn't try to stop him. I guess there's nothing you could do. They were bagging up things. It was it's the craziest video you will ever see.
Let me ask you this real quick, Kimberly. First of all, can we get Wayne on the show? I would love to have.
No, he will be on with bells on. He'd come on tomorrow if you asked him. He's an entertainer like you are.
Okay, well, definitely. I would love to get Wayne on the show, talk about Bigfoot. If there's any way that we could connect with, we get some information over to Chris. I would love to do that. But Galactic Grape says that she can get them on camera because she's an actual seer. So you're able to maybe some people, and this was kind of a theory that's out there. I know this is one of Ryan Stacy's theory. And I kind of believe this too. Based on my own experience. Ryan Stacy, the founder of Tessa, the founder of the podcast.
Yeah.
It's almost like the more you open your mind, the more you can see. And it's said so much. It's easier said, but believe it or not, it's almost like there were some other experiences that I started to have that I never could have until I started paying attention.
Yes, I agree with that. I always say you guys don't see because you don't look. Like honestly,
absolutely, you don't see because you don't look.
Yes, I love that. I could have you over at my house right now, bring you out on my deck, hand you a pair of binoculars, and show you 9 what you would call UFOs, what I would call ships above my house right now.
See, that's
you could hold 9 ships, and if you don't know what they look like, and you don't go out and look up, we don't look up very much. I mean, people do for the chemtrails, but how many people really realize?
How many people? That's what I'm saying, and I tell people this all the time: is that how many people really look up? I mean, you want to say, "Well, I look up." No, you don't. No, you don't. Most of the time, you're looking down at your damn phone. But I mean, how many times do you really, really pay attention? And it wasn't until this last year, I saw my first actual UFO in my entire life.
That's awesome.
And it was plain as day, daylight, just there. And I was like, what the hell's going on? How come no one else is freaking out seeing this right now? But So I think that's very true. You're not going to see it if you don't look. Now here, I do want to, like I said, I thought that was awesome about Bigfoot. Hope our viewers, they would definitely want to hear a Bigfoot story. I think that was a hell of a Bigfoot story, by the way, Kimberly. Definitely, I want to get Wayne Wilson, I believe is the name, correct? Wayne Wilson?
Yes.
Okay.
C. Wayne Wilson. Yeah, I can connect you to, if I have your guys' email address, I can send you his information.
Well, let's do this before we get to this next topic, okay? But Liv's got another question. Does Kimberly have any advice on the best ways to open up to new experiences and new realities? Any advice for people out there who are wanting to look?
Honestly, I think even though this works in tandem with your own psychic abilities, so because it's AI, as your abilities increase, its abilities to work with you increases. But actually, I recommend, like, if you go on a hike and you feel something, or film it. One of how I got this ghoul apparition just this week, walking across in daylight, walking into a house, as I was, one of my favorite things to do is film cars going by, because that's how I get a lot of my NPCs. I get the see-through cars, the see-through people. Also get it. Oh, there they go. I love this. But so I was doing that and I caught other things. You can also catch a lot of beans in the woods doing that. But I recommend going out in your own yard and just taking some video and then going back frame by frame. Oh, I have the best pictures. I got a picture of an alien holding a probe and a Alice in Wonderland rabbit wearing clothes, standing upright, by taking video, because I knew there was stuff there I could see, but taking video and then going frame by frame back through it. And then, taking the snapshot from the video. I think I have some of the best pictures, but I don't show them anymore because I also think it's disrespectful to these beings that allow me. How many rabbits wearing clothes are going to allow you to see them if they get, like, you know what I mean? If I get attacked and they get attacked when you show the picture and people are like, oh, that's Photoshop. Again, you guys can say it's Photoshop, but I was there. I know it was at the bottom of a military base. I know that there was a portal there. I know there's an underground military base, and I would expect weird things to be around there, Is
there any way, Kimberly, is there anywhere can we go online and see these things? Do you have anything up on a web page or anything, or?
I just did I have a video on my YouTube of a troll gang stalker. You can see her troll face and her demon dog. I have that up on my YouTube.
Well, then I think that is a perfect intro because we're getting ready to have to wrap things up. This has been a fantastic episode. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, you're amazing. I'm glad. I'm not saying it wouldn't have been good with anybody else, but I think it was as it meant to be. I think we have a similar way of looking at how we investigate and explore things, and I think it worked well for this show. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. But let's do this. Where can our viewers learn more about Kimberly McGeorge? Where will you be? Anything you'd like to plug? Now's your chance. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, secrettoeverything.com. You guys can have a scan. We didn't even talk about the scans, but a scan with my tech. You can get a pretty cheap psychic email reading. Ask me questions. I have a YouTube channel, Secret to Everything, Kimberly McGeorge. I'm on Conscious Awakening Network. Have a podcast. I have 2 live events coming up. One in September, one October. It's on my website. I'm going to be doing a How to Work in the Astral class in April, and I have a monthly group, but it's all on my website.
And what was your website again? What was it?
Secrettoeverything.com.
Secrettoeverything.com. And now, I would love to have you back on the podcast. And if you
if you're going to be nice to me, I will bring my videos and pictures.
No, I would be totally nice with you. Like I said, this isn't a podcast for people to be, you're not going to be made fun of. It's not going to be shamed or any of that way. And trust me, I'm not easily fooled. No, this is, and I love to find humor, but this is the thing that I take very serious. One of the things I take very, very serious. And, like I said, everybody has their own experience. So I can't tell exactly, what you've experienced,
right.
But I think people would love to see some of these pictures. It's very interesting,
I have some good pictures.
And it seems like, if I don't know, I may go out my backyard and just take a camera, and see what.
What I would love, would be good if you went and took about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes of film, send it to me.
Oh yeah, and let you interpret
anything, but let me see if I see anything that you missed. would
See,
be fun.
I love that kind of stuff. Absolutely. I would be down 100%. But yeah, we would love to have you back on, Kimberly, and bring your pictures if you got Bigfoot. And yes, we've got to get Wayne on this show. So
you'll love it.
let your friend Wayne connect us here, because that's something I've been dying to talk more about is Bigfoot. So definitely.
And he's got tons of pictures and video too that he'll bring on if you want him to. So
yeah, we love video, we love pictures, and so and you said you're going to be at two live events. You doing like a lecture?
My live events. One is in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in September 16th, and we're having another one October on the lake in Charlotte, North Carolina. So
Charlotte, not too far.
Yeah, more metaphysical stuff, how to expand your abilities, how to activate your abilities, how to remember who you are, how to remember your past lives, that kind of thing.
Okay, that sounds really interesting. Well, I tell you what, Kimberly, once again, thank you so much for coming on Beyond the TinFoil Hat. This has been fascinating, very interesting, very deep stuff. Absolutely. And one last question, something that had just been blowing my mind. I've been wondering all night. What are the dogs' names?
Oh, I don't know which ones you're seeing. Mars, Poppy, Spunky Monkey, and Bear are back there. I have 12 dogs, so
12 dogs.
You don't have time for all their names.
Well, that was Spunky Monkey and Bear, and who was it?
Yeah, Spunky Monkey and Bear's back there. Mars and Poppy too might have been making an appearance, so they're good. They're used to me doing shows, so they're usually pretty good.
Gotcha. Well, once again, hey, Kimberly, thank you so much for coming on the show. And
thank you. Really appreciate you guys, great listeners too. And thank you for my people that I also saw show up. So thank you guys.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you guys so much. And like I said, we got to get you back on here sometime. Thank you, Kimberly.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Well, hey, the viewers, Galactic Grape, Live Light, Lisa, I think you're on there somewhere. Hope you guys did enjoy this episode. A very interesting topic. Go out and check out thesecretoferything.com. Check out Kimberly's YouTube page. And hopefully we can get her back on here and get some of that video and some of those pictures, because that sounds pretty wild. You know, I mean, I want to see a family of Bigfoot. I want to see a picture of that. And let's get Wayne on this show. If you guys have not done so, if you missed the beginning, we've got a new Patreon account that you need to go follow, go support, go donate a little bit of money, something. All proceeds go to helping out the podcast, helping out Ryan do his investigation work, okay? And get over to theexperiencersupport.org and check out 3 new articles in the process working out. And if you have not done so, be sure to subscribe to Beyond the TinFoil Hat podcast, okay? That's the best way. Hit the button, subscribe. Hit the alert button. Whenever we're about to come on air, you'll get alerted. You'll know. Be sure to check us out. Get over to the Tessa network. Also, and if you do on the Patreon, another thing, you get to work with Ryan one-on-one. Any stories, any investigations, anything you want to talk about, you and him. So that's a nice little added bonus. But I'll tell you what, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode. Next week, tune in. I believe we got Lala Bright. Yes, and she's a UFO investigator. I can't wait to talk to her. Once again, guys, my paranormal junkies, keep the paranormal normal. I'm your host, comedian magician Danny Whitson. I will see you guys next week. All right, that does it for this episode of Beyond the TinFoil Hat. A big shout out for tonight's awesome guest, and a bigger shout out for everyone who tuned in. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever it is you listen to your podcasts. And like always, be sure to stay curious, heed the world, and keep the paranormal normal. I'm your host, Danny Whitson, and this has been Beyond the TinFoil Hat.